Great to see you this morning. My name is Brian Payne. I'm the Director of Group Ministries here at Crosspoint Community Church. And really happy to have you here. Our mission is to make passionate followers of Christ. And if you're joining us for the first time today, we want to extend a special welcome to you and say thanks for joining us. And we have a special gift for you. If you would stop by our welcome table out front, we'll give that to you just as a way to say thanks for being here. Okay, if you've been attending frequently over the summer, you have, like I have, enjoyed the really cool videos and the excellent worship service that has been provided. And we have a lot of people to thank, but today we want to extend a special thank you to our intern, Joel Call. This Sunday is our... easy. Later. Joel's last day is this Sunday, and we just want to take time to say thanks for everything you've done. He's worked hard. I mean, he has produced... How many videos have you produced?
I don't know.
10,000
Yeah.
videos. 10,000. Or close. But anyway, thank you. It's been a blessing for our church to have you here, and we just want to let you know that. And we do have a parting video for you that we'd like to show you.
Wonderful.
We really are becoming the church, with the cool videos. So it's a tribute to Joel. Well, we are in part 2 of our current sermon series, The Most Courageous Decision. And to kick it off, we have, what else? A video. All right. Thanks for coming, folks.
So we are in the second week of this series, The Most Courageous Decision. And if you missed last week, I'd highly recommend you can get on our website, crosspointonline.net, and it's got links there to check out the message from last week, because I don't have time to recap the whole thing to you. But in this series, this is what we're talking about. We're saying that our conversations are here. Our conversations, by and large, they stay right on the surface. They're fairly shallow, as well evidenced by the skit that we just had. And so our conversations stay here, which means that our relationships are here as well. And we have a desire, each and every one of us, to move our conversations and to move our relationships to a deeper level. That within every one of us, we want to just get off of just the surface level stuff, the things that don't really matter, and to talk about things that really matter, and to interact with people and connect with people at a depth, at a level that is really significant. But that transition is really hard to make. It's really hard to go from here to here in your conversations. And one of the biggest reasons why is because of shame. We talked last week about how shame is the intense belief that if people knew me for who I really was, if people knew what was really going on inside of me, that they would reject me, that they would want nothing to do with me. If they really knew my doubts and my fears and my dreams and my hopes and all the things that are going on, my past, that they wouldn't want anything to do with me, that they wouldn't want a relationship with me. And so what we've said is that the way that we get from here to here is we have to be willing to be vulnerable. But constantly along the way, shame keeps creeping in and keeping us from being vulnerable. And so we're really looking at, so how do we get to this level? How do we get to those relationships and have those conversations that are really significant and really form those deeper connections? And before we really get into the content today, I want to craft kind of a clear picture as to the relationships that I'm talking about. So I just want to spend 5 minutes, and I want to talk about what it looks like to have those ideal relationships. Because I think for all of us, we get this picture in our minds as to what an ideal relationship is really like and what an ideal relationship is really about. And I hope we're all past the stage that we think the idea that an ideal relationship means there's no conflict or there's no fights, because we're never going to be in that spot. But I want to spend a few minutes, I want to talk about what that looks like. One of the first things, in terms of those ideal relationships that you can have those deeper conversations with, one of the first things that I think it doesn't look like is it's not a therapy session. And I think sometimes we get that idea that if I've got those deeper connections, all I want to do is get with someone and I want to talk about my past and my other issues and what I experienced with my mom or my dad or how this event shaped my life. And I'm not going to say that conversation is a bad thing. I will say, though, that is probably a better conversation to have with your therapist than with your friend continually over and over again. Save that conversation for them. And so those ideal relationships, it's not about having this never-ending therapy session. Another thing that I think that it's not, is I don't think it means that when you're with that person, all you ever talk about is deeper issues. Because I had a few of those friends in college, and we were in religion classes together and things like that. And it was like we would go out of class and we would go to lunch, and all they ever wanted to talk about was the proof of God or the meaning of life or all these other things. And I felt like just lunch after lunch, they're like, man, you guys need to watch a movie or something like that. You go out, play a game, throw a frisbee, do one of those things. Because if your conversations always stay here, honestly, it gets pretty exhausting. So we're not talking about just this never-ending conversation that always stays deep. Another thing that I think we get in our heads that's incorrect is we think that those deeper conversations and those deeper relationships, that it's just for one gender. That's for girls. Guys, we talk up here. That's kind of where we stay. That's where we're good. Ladies, you guys can have those deeper relationships. And I love, Jerry Seinfeld has a stand-up DVD that I've watched 50 times because I think he's hilarious. And he's got this one part in his DVD where he's talking about women, they're always wondering what men are thinking. They're always going, what's going on in that little head of his? I bet I could manipulate it. And he goes, I bet you could. They're always wondering what's going on in her head. And he goes, I'll tell you. Women, you want to know what men are thinking? I'll tell you. Nothing. We just walk around and look at stuff. And that's about the only thought we've ever had. And I think the reason why that connects with us is because there's a lot of our culture that believes that believes women talk here and guys, we just stay here. And this is how I know that's not true. I am in a unique position, which is a good thing, that in our culture today, pastors are still seen as people who you can come to with problems or issues or things that you need to talk about, which I think that's a very, very healthy thing. And I have had on multiple occasions, I've gotten together with men, and they didn't have an issue that they wanted to talk about or a thing that they wanted counsel on. It was when I was talking with someone, and they knew that I was a pastor, and they knew that I was someone they could be trusted. All of a sudden in the conversation, they just unloaded. And not about anything specific. Just all this different stuff of things that have been going on in their life, things that they struggled with, things that they were afraid of, things that they wanted, but they felt like they couldn't tell anyone about because they would judge them if they found out that these are the things that they wanted. And these conversations that I've had with a lot of these people, I have had little to no relationship with. And yet they came to me and they wanted to talk about all this stuff. And why is that? It was because they didn't have anyone else who they felt that they could go to. Because shame was in their life. They didn't feel like they could be vulnerable and move from those shallow conversations and shallow relationships to deeper conversations and deeper relationships and the things that really matter. And so I think that this is something, regardless of gender, regardless of age, that we're all looking for. And when I talk about these ideal relationships and these conversations that go with it, I just want to say, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if there's something that you want to talk about, you can just talk about it. Not that it always has to stay deep and serious and intense, because it doesn't. But if there's something on your mind, if there's something you're struggling with, or if there's an issue that's been bugging you, you can just talk about it with those around you. And I think we put these invisible boundaries on our relationships. And it's like, with this person, I can talk about work. And with this person, I can talk about family. And with this person, I can talk about faith. But I don't talk about family with this person, and I don't talk about work with this person. And it's kind of like we get set in these modes, that these are acceptable topics of conversation for this relationship. And what happens with that is there will be things that we're dealing with and things that are just on our minds that we need to process that we feel like we can't come to people with. And so this level of relationship, this deeper level of relationship and conversation, I believe is something that we're all looking for. The question is, how do we get there? If shame is keeping us from getting there, if shame is constantly coming up and telling us, you can't be vulnerable, you can't tell people this, if they know this about you, they'll reject you, and if that voice is always in our heads, then how do we overcome that so we can move from here to here in our relationships? And in order to find that out, we're going to look at a unique character today. We're going to look at a writing from King David. And if you have your Bible with you on your phone or wherever it is, we're going to be in Psalm 139 today. If you don't have your Bible with you, we're going to have the words on the screen, but we're going to be in Psalm 139. And we're going to look at this very, very interesting writing from King David. And it's important that we look at King David for a couple reasons. One of the first is that King David modeled being vulnerable better than about anyone else in the world. We have repeated instances of him modeling vulnerability throughout the Bible, but there's this one instance that always stands out to me. That what happens is the Ark of the Covenant, this very important thing in the nation of Israel, had been off in a distant land, and it returns to the nation of Israel. And so as it's coming in, all of these people are celebrating, doing stuff. And it says that David, the king, is so excited that he gets out in front of the whole nation and he starts dancing. Now we know this other very important note about King David. We know that he indeed cannot dance. Not that he didn't have the physical ability to, so much as he didn't have the skill and technique to do what most people refer to as dancing. And so what happens is that King David, he dances before the whole nation that he's so excited, and he returns to his house, and his wife is there, and basically says this: "You have embarrassed all of us." Now, if you are an individual who likes to dance, who cannot dance, there is no worse thing that someone could say to you than "you have just embarrassed all of us." I mean, there is nothing that makes you want to stand against a wall and quietly bob your head to the music, acting like you're into it, than someone telling you, "You have just embarrassed our entire family and yourself." And David's response is so awesome. He just kind of goes, "Okay, that's who I am." You see, David modeled vulnerability so well. We see that people are attracted to him. People just wanted to be around him. And we see that he has these incredibly deep relationships. The king who was before him, Saul, he was so close with his son Jonathan that the Bible often refers to them as being one. That they had that kind of a relationship. And so my question is this: if David had those kind of relationships, and he was able to model that kind of vulnerability again and again and again, what did he know that I don't? If shame played such a little insignificant role in his life, and it plays such a big role in my life, and keeps my relationships up here when I want them to be down here, what does he know that we are unaware of? What is the truth that he has held on to that has somehow escaped us that will lead us to this spot? And that's what Psalm 139 looks at. Now, this is what we're going to do as we look at this. This is going to be a little interesting. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for you, okay? So as we're going to go through these verses, some of the language is going to be familiar. If you know Psalm 139, I want to tell you you're actually at a disadvantage this morning. Because this is what I want you to do. I want this to be the mindset that you're in. That if you had no understanding of God and no understanding of the Bible, and if this section of Scripture is all you knew of God, I want you to read it in that context. Of what would you think about God? In our struggle with shame, in our struggle with people knowing what's really going on within us, and what we're really struggling with, and our doubts and our fears and our hopes and our past and our struggles, and our desire to keep that hidden, if Psalm 139 was all you had, how would it make you feel? And that's what we're going to dive into right now. So this is Psalm 139, starting in verse 1. He says this: "O Lord, you have searched me, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar." Let me ask you, if that's all you've got, how are you feeling right now? And for those of us who've read that before, you kind of read that and you go, that's good. Yeah, God, yeah. If you're really dealing with shame, and that's all you know of God, that's terrifying. Is it not? Like, I mean, if that is all you know about God, and you're struggling with people knowing who you really are, to read that God has, not is searching, but has searched you and knows you. knows everything about you. I mean, that's terrifying. And so you read that and you go, okay, well, does that mean God knows that I think this? Yeah. Does that mean God knows that thing that happened all those years ago that none of my current friends know about? Yeah, he does. Does that mean God knows that sometimes I just really want to give up? Yeah, he does. Does that mean that God knows sometimes I know it's wrong, but I just think of leaving everything because it'd be easier? Yeah, he does. Does that mean God knows what I think about this person? Yeah, he does. You see, you read that, and that's not good news for someone struggling with shame. It's like, oh my goodness, all the things that I have worked so hard to keep hidden, all the things that I've tried to keep everyone else out of, you're saying God already knows that? That doesn't sound comforting. And then he continues on down this path. This is what David writes. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. So this is what he says there. When you're having the conversation with people and you almost say that really nasty thing, but you're so glad that you caught yourself at the last second, yeah, God knows what you were going to say. It doesn't even matter what filter you have. He already knows those thoughts in your head, and you're going, oh my goodness, this is not good. He continues on. It gets better. You hem me in, behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Do you get that metaphor? You hem me in, behind and before. I turn around and you're there. I look forward and you're there. And we go, yeah, that's good. But then David gives us a clue. And I think this is great. This is the clue. He says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. He gives us this clue that everything that he's talking about is actually a good thing. And so we read that and we go, but I'm struggling with shame and I don't want people to know this, and you're telling me God knows everything? He knows everything about me? Yeah. And David goes, but that's a good thing. And he'll get to that in a second. But first he goes down this path. He says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. And again, sometimes we read it and we go, oh yeah, that sounds so great. We have a 2-year-old girl. Her name's Maddie. And I understand exactly what he's saying in those verses. Because I'm in the kitchen, and she's there. And I go downstairs, and she's there. And then I go to the bathroom for 30 seconds of quiet, and she's there. Like, I mean, I understand what he's saying, except when I say that, I don't say it in quite the tone of voice that I think he's saying. I'm saying, yeah, David, I know. She's there. And David's going, wherever I go, God is there. And he comments on it a little bit more. He says, if I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. We get this other clue that this is a good thing. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. And so up until this point in time, we've got this really, really strange description of David's relationship with God. And honestly, if you didn't know better, it would almost read like the script to a horror film. It's kind of like, wherever I go, they're there. Before you say a word, they know it. And it's like, this is terrifying. This is not good news. But then David shows us next the truth that he knows, that it's really important that we never forget. He says this, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. He says, you know all this about me. Nothing that I have can I keep hidden. I'm more than glad. I am thrilled with that. Because I know you created me. I know you created me. He says, I invite this level of, I don't have a better word, of intimacy in. I invite this level of intimacy with you because I know you created me. Now there's a problem with that statement, and that is the fact that we have a certain affinity, we have a certain liking of the things that we create. To give you an easy example, I think we could all agree that there are occasionally ugly babies. Could we agree with that? Yet I have never heard anyone admit that they indeed have an ugly baby. Now, I'm not saying any of your children. I'm not saying my children. Okay? But we could say that's there, but no one sees that in their own light. In another way, Maddie, every single day after she's in Kid XP, she comes to me and she's got a picture that in her class, that's some Bible story, and she has colored a picture. And she's so excited. And she like runs up and she's happy and she goes, Daddy, here, look at this. And so I take it. I gotta tell you, it's not very good. Like, it's like this. It's like blue, red, green, yellow. And it's like, why is the sun blue and the arc is yellow? Like, I don't understand. And I look at it and I think, I'm not a very good artist, but I could do way better. Like, I mean, I could at least color in the lines. But she's thrilled because she colored the pictures. Like, it's not very good. You see, we have this certain things that we create that we feel an affection for. And so it'd be easy to think the same way as with God. And so David clarifies the quality of God's work. He says this, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. He says, your works are wonderful. And so this is the span of what David has said. He said, God, I am overjoyed that you know every detail and every thought and every going on in my life. I'm not ashamed of anything. I don't have to be afraid of anything because I know deep down that you created me and you don't make bad stuff. Because I know deep down that you created me and that your works are wonderful. And so because of that, I am okay talking about parts of my life to them and them and them. And I am okay getting in front of a group of people and dancing even if my wife makes fun of me. I share that affinity with David right there. Even if my wife makes fun of me when I dance, I'm okay with it because I know that you make good stuff, that your works are wonderful. And so I'm willing to be vulnerable. And shame has no place in my life because I know who I was created by and I know the quality of work that he does. And this is what I want you to hear. You were created by God. And God doesn't make bad stuff. You were created by God. And everything that he creates is wonderful. And so it doesn't matter what them think of you, or the worth that they think that you have. Because you know your Creator. And you know every work that he makes is wonderful. And this for David is how he moves from here to here. Because we're never going to go from shallow to deep as long as shame is a part of our lives. We're never going to risk that vulnerability that takes us from the one spot to the other if we're constantly worried about what other people think about us. And he says, I'm not worried about that because I know who created me. I'm not worried about that because I know that his works are wonderful. And so if I could sum it up like this, knowing my identity in Christ is how I experience deep connection. Unless if that truth that God created me is buried deep within me in a spot that it will never be removed from. I'm always going to be concerned about the opinions and impressions of everyone around me. But when that is buried deep within my heart, I don't need to be so concerned about it. And I'm willing to risk, and I'm willing to go out on a limb, and I'm willing to show people sides of me that otherwise I would want to keep hidden. Because I know God knows everything about me. And I know that his works are wonderful. And so we've spent now a week and a half, and we have covered a lot of information. We have covered a lot of information. And we're getting to the point in time that we need to ask that all you type A people have been asking so far. Okay, so what do I do with it? What do I do with it? I want to know, okay, what's my step? What comes next? And I think that's incredibly important. I think as long as it's just knowledge in our head instead of transformation that happens in our hearts, I mean, I think that the bridge between that two is we actually have to take action on the truth that we know. I think as long as it just stays in our head and we're not actually going to go out and do something, it will never actually transform our lives. And so in light of all that we've covered, here's your action step. Here's how you put it into practice. I want you to join a group. I want you to join a group. And I know you're going, what? That's it? I mean, shouldn't we just kind of start knocking on doors and telling people our life story and stuff like that? And now, we'll leave that to the Jehovah's Witnesses. They can cover that angle. We'll leave that to them. For us, let's go this route. I want you to join a group. I want you to join a group that we have at our church. And this is how it works. We have groups that meet all throughout the week. And how it works is you get together. Some groups meet for 2 hours. Other groups meet for longer than that. I prefer the 2-hour groups. That's kind of more my niche at that point in time. I'm ready to go off and do some other things. But you get together, you hang out for a little bit. Most of the groups eat, which I like eating. That's a good thing. And then you talk about the message from Sunday. The content, not the quality of the message, to be clear. But you talk about the message from Sunday, and you use that as an opening to just talk about the different things that are going on in your life and where you're at. You go, well, how does that make such a difference in going from here to here? And I would say it makes all the difference in the world. Because when you spend time regularly with people, this is how it works. And I want you to understand, when I am sharing this with you, I am not sharing this in terms of scientifically this is how it works. I have been a part of a group since far before we ever planted this church, and I have been a part of groups that didn't have anything to do with the church. We still studied the Bible even though we weren't connected to any church, because I believe so deeply in this. How it works is it goes like this. The first couple times that your group gets together, it's really awkward because you don't know these people. And so you'll be 2 weeks in and you're still going, okay, what's their name? Did anyone get their name? I'm just going to yell Bill, and if they look, then we'll know it's Bill. You do those kind of things. And so you have that for a few weeks. And then after a month, you've got everybody's name, and you're good to go. And then you keep having conversations. And what happens is that over time, you start sharing what you like, what you dislike, what shows you watch, what shows you don't watch, what teams you like, what teams you don't like. I don't know what ladies talk about because I've never been a lady, but that's what the guys talk about. We kind of go through those things. And then over time, and I can't even really describe how it happens. But then you start talking about stuff that matters more. You start talking about the things that really frustrate you, the things that make you mad, the things that make you happy. And what happens is that over time, you realize that the things that I share with these people, I can trust them. I can trust them. And so you become more and more vulnerable. You're willing to share more things. You're willing to say more. And by the time your group has been meeting for a while, you realize, oh my goodness. What started as, is it Bill? Is it Bill? That's what it started, is now a group of people who I can trust with anything. Who I could share anything with. Who, if something went wrong in my life, I know I could pick up the phone and every single one of them would be at my doorstep in no time at all asking how they can help. That's what happens by the end. And we do a couple things as a church, and I'm not going to spend a long time on these, that make those groups work that way. And I want you to know at the start, every single one of the things that we do with groups makes it far harder on us. The easiest thing for us to do as a church, if we wanted people just to get in groups and all we cared about was attendance, is we would just put a sign-up sheet on a wall and say, show up wherever you want. And that's what many of you are like, oh, that's easy. I want to know that exactly. I'll go to their house. I like them. That sounds great. But that would not get you the group that you're looking for. There's a couple things that we do are this. First thing that we do is our groups meet from 18 to 24 months. Months. And some of you are like, I don't even know what I'm doing next Friday. And if you ask me, this would be too far out. I don't plan like that. And you go, months? So you're talking a year and a half to 2 years? And I would tell you, that's how long it takes. If you only met for 3 weeks and then you jumped out, the relationship would still be here. But when you make those regular deposits every week over time, you find that that relationship grows deeper and deeper. Second thing we do with our groups is our groups are closed, meaning once you form a group, no one else can get in unless very special circumstances make it work that way. And the biggest pushback we've had on this, and I understand that, you go, so you're deliberately leaving people out? Huh. And you call yourselves Christians? Yes, we do. They're closed. Bible study. Yeah, I know it doesn't make sense, but this is why. If there's a new face around the circle every week, you don't know that you can trust them. And I'm not saying that as like a creepy thing. If there's a new face around my group every week, I don't know that I can trust them. So I'm not going to share some stuff. I'm not going to say some things. I'm going to keep the conversation here. And so we have closed groups where you just make regular relational deposits with people over time. And the third thing that we do with our groups is we discuss what happens here on Sunday. We discuss the content of the message and how it applies to our lives. We don't want to make it difficult for people. We don't want to give you a ton of homework that you have to do, a ton of information that you have to grab, because our groups are focused on connection. Our groups are focused on finding the relationships that will move you from here to here that you're so desperately looking for. I tell you, I have now, in the life of our church, I have been a part of 3 different groups. And here's the hardest part, is when the group ends. And I'd say, I've been a part of 3 different groups. And they were all unique. They were all at the beginning, they were a little bit awkward. But when the group ends, it is just really, really hard. Because I really like the people who I'm with. And I always tell myself this is what I do. And you need to know this. I'm the pastor. So I'm kind of in charge. And I go, well, maybe we should just stay together. Maybe we could just keep this group together, because I'm not going to find other people who are like this. I don't know if I want to do that again. And then I go through it again. And it starts here, and it starts with, was his name Bill? Yeah, his name was Bill. And it ends here. And that's how it works every time. Because that's how deep connections happen. I'll tell you, I believe in the power and the importance of this. And I want you to know, I don't care about what our attendance numbers. You will never hear us at our church. We will never emphasize attendance. And I know it throws some people off as they've been in here, because the goal is always, well, make sure you come back every week and you'll put a star on the board. And if you come every week, then you get a lollipop. That's not our church. We want you to follow Christ. That's our goal. We want you to follow Christ. And we believe that this is one of the most important things in your life if you're going to follow Christ, is to have relationships that are at this level. And so to join a group, this is what it looks like. You need to go to GroupLink. GroupLink is events, and there we go. GroupLink is an event that we have coming this Saturday. Brian Payne, who gave the welcome at the beginning of service, he's going to come in just a little bit to explain the dynamics of it and what it looks like and how you get signed up. But here's the deal. If you give this a shot, this is what it could look like. You come to GroupLink. You get to pick your own group. We won't put you with people, because I understand you're afraid that you're going to be with weird people. I would too. There's some weird people here. Some people think that I'm one of them. I get it. So you're afraid of that, and so you come to GroupLink, and so you can pick a group. And if it works out, what will happen is in 2 years, you'll have a group of people who you could trust with anything, who you could call up at any time, and they'll answer you. And they would help with anything. I know the 3 groups that I've been in, I have the numbers to every single person in all those groups, and that's not just because I have access to the church directory. I have numbers of every one of those people in all 3 of those groups, and I know I could call them up with anything in the world, and they would be there for me. And so it could work out like that. If it doesn't work out, this is what that means. You come on Saturday, you waste 2 hours, you eat some food, you drink some pop, and at the end you decide, no, there's no one here who I want to be in a group with, and you leave. At best, you have 10 to 12 lifelong friends. At worst, you waste 2 hours. I think that's a risk I'd be willing to take. I believe sometimes the most courageous decision, the most courageous thing that you can do is to just show up. And I really believe that. To go, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know how everything's going to function. I don't know how this is going to work. But I'm going to give it a shot. For so many of us, I feel like our lives have been marked by these relationships that are just here. And it's like we're grown men and women and we're still swimming in the kiddie pool. And it's kind of like we're wading around and we're doing that thing and we're still stuck in the shallow when we're meant to be swimming in an adult-sized pool. And so where are your conversations? Where are your relationships? And I want to give you 2 things. It starts with knowing your identity in Christ, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that his works are wonderful. And I believe the best way you can put that into practice is to start meeting with some other believers, some other people who follow Christ regularly in the context of a group. And that's what I want for you. I want relationships that are here and not here. Let me pray for you. Father, I want to pray for every single person in this room today that they will experience the relationships that you have designed them for. And I think there's some people who are in the room here who they just want to scream. They want it so badly. That they just feel like they're stuck with these invisible boundaries on their relationships and their conversations. And I want to talk about something that matters. I want to be a part of something that matters. And they feel like they're stuck. And so God, I pray that you would plant deep within us this truth. That you made us. And your works are always wonderful. That when we feel shame creep into our lives, that we would remember that. That we would remember that you made us and you don't do bad work. You never do bad work. And so, Father, help us take the steps of courage that we need to make in order to live that out. And I pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
This August has been pretty cool.
Yeah, the temperature in the pool's been really cold too, because it hadn't been warm enough to heat it up, you know. The Cardinals should be ahead of everybody, but, you know, the Pirates, the Reds, they're all trying to have the same record right now.
Yeah. The Reds are trying to lose all their games in the 9th inning.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the football team, the Cardinals.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Because it is preseason. They all have about the same record, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up, Andrew?
Oh, hey, Jeff. What's going on, man?
How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad.
Good.
Everything going all right?
Yeah, man. Things are pretty good.
I saw Vanessa. She's looking a little pregnant.
Yeah, dude. She's ready to pop. She's pretty tired of it. She's ready to have our kid.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You watch Breaking Bad?
No, not really. I watched How I Met Your Mother. How about that one?
I like the show about meth more.
About meth? I haven't seen that. Did you see the documentary on Megalodon, though?
was awesome.
Yeah. How about Sharknado? What is it?
Sharknado?
What is it?
Sharknado? That's a classic already.
I mean,
Ian Ziering was in it.
well, who's that?
And Tara Reid. 90210.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I kind of heard it was almost going to be like a cult classic or something.
Yeah. 20 years now, it's just a modern classic.
Oh, okay. Well, that's almost as good as Pitch Perfect was what Haley said.
So how you feel about that?
Good. It's a little scary. It's a lot of responsibility. You can't put it back. You got it. You got it.
That's very true.
But we're excited about it.
But I can say from experience, having a child is one of the most beautiful things in your life, and it's definitely a blessing.
Yeah. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Got about everything ready. We're geared up for it. Cool. I don't think it's really. It's kind of hit me, but I don't think it has entirely.
Yeah.
I walk by her room and it's ready, and the car seat's in the car, but it's she's not there yet. So.
How what'd you think about the message last Sunday?
You were asking about the Cardinals?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know. When they get Molina back, it'd be better though.
Seen any good movies?
I saw this one where the guy had to wear some external hardware in order for him to even function because he was going to die. I can't remember the name of it though. It was so weird. I think we played charades with it a couple of nights ago or something like that.
And then the next thing that happens is they take off the high school on you.
Yeah, man, that's.
Grow up way too fast.
Yeah, Jordan's getting ready to start at high school this year. How are you guys doing with that? That's a big transition.
It's been interesting. She's a trooper, and she seems to really enjoy it so far.
Good.
So that's helped us accept it a lot better, other than just getting older with it.
Yeah. Did she enjoy middle school very much? Or I know middle school is a tough time for a lot of kids.
Yeah, she did. I think sports and her youth group and just friends, really help her keep it real. And it's been a good course for us.
Good.
Hey, what are you getting up for?
The water's getting too warm.
Well, you can never look at those two guys the same again, right? Okay, well, if you'd like to get out of the kiddie pool, we're going to give you your chance. This, as Kevin mentioned, this Saturday night at 6:30, we're going to host Group Link right here at the church. And we will have child care available. We don't want that to be a hindrance for anyone wanting to participate in it. Let me give you a little rundown of what Group Link is. It is an interactive social event. Okay, we'll have some refreshments and pop and things like that. I'm gonna tack on what Kevin said. The worst thing that could happen about that evening is that you spend 2 hours here socializing with people you go to church with. Okay, so it's a fun event. It's designed specifically for you, if you want to get involved in a group, to choose the group that you want to be with. And we had an opportunity back in the early spring to pilot this, and the initial reaction of a few groups that were brave enough to go through this was exactly what Kevin said. We don't want to switch our group. But after we went through that and speaking with a lot of these folks that actually experienced the Group Link experience, ended up with a new group, they'll tell you that it was a very positive experience. So I say that because this is not just for people that have never been in a group. This is for everyone, regardless of whether you're a first-time participant or have been in groups before. So come out Saturday night. We're going to start at 6:30, arrive here a little early. It's going to be a great event. Okay? If you find yourself often wondering about faith and what that next step is, you just want to know a little bit more. You want to know what we believe. What is it about Christian faith that I need to know? Well, today is your lucky day, because we, right after this church service, will host a class called We Believe. And it is designed to be very elementary in nature as far as how we explain it, but it's an opportunity for you to hear the message of the gospel in a very easy format, so that hopefully you can understand a little bit more about what it is to be a Christian. Before you leave today, make sure you see our folks in the corners here, Mike and Lauren. They are our connectors. They really are the ones that are helping me get an idea of who's going to be at Group Link. Okay? All you need to know, you don't have to give them any other information other than we plan to be there, and if you have children, we're going to bring our kids too. All right? So see them in the corner there. Hey, thanks a lot for being here today. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and we hope that in this coming week you have a closer walk with Christ. Take care.